What is up, people? Welcome to this We Are Tottenham TV special with a head-to-head with some titans of YouTube and some Arsenal fans. Obviously, regular viewers will know the gentleman to my left, Ben and Sim from We Are Tottenham TV, and we're very honoured to have Lee from AFTV and Babs from Babs 14 joining us for this titanic struggle. I'm Rez, your compere from Shelfside Spurs Show, and I think, gentlemen, if you're all four of you are ready, I think we should get right into it.
Let's do it.
I'm ready.
Let's go.
Okay, so I've got a number of questions here that we're going to cover. I don't know how much fire there's going to be with the answers, but let's jump straight in and do some honour to our guests first.
Sure.
Has Arteta overachieved at Arsenal? And I think we'll go with Babs first on this one.
I don't think so. I think what Arteta's doing at Arsenal is what I expect. Bare minimum. You know, last season this summer we spent £150 million. A lot of our signings, a lot of our fans weren't fans of, right? Ramsdale, your Ben Whites, were they worth that sort of money? But I trusted the manager and he knew what he was doing. You don't spend that sort of money and get that trust from the board without knowing what you're doing. So I think he's doing what he knows he's capable of doing. And in fact, I think, forgetting about Spurs for a second, looking up for a second, if we win this game on Thursday, a point behind Chelsea. So I think, right, Arteta's doing exactly what he should be doing at his current stage, and next year the project goes back. Next stage. It's not just top four. I mean, maybe you guys want top four and it's get the money in. We want to use that money to get up there with the best two teams in the league.
Yeah, but aren't you only in that space because Man U have failed to perform this season, Spurs have failed to perform this season, and you're only a point away from Chelsea because they failed to perform this season. So in essence, isn't that overachieving?
No, because you have to take the opportunity. And every team has their time. For example, Liverpool, when they got top four for the first time in Klopp, was it back in 2016-17? It's because Arsenal failed, right? We got fifth that year. So every team gets the opportunity. Once you get into the Champions League and you invest that money properly, then you're able to compete to the next level.
What do you think par was for Arsenal before the season started?
What was the what?
Par. Where do you think Arsenal should have finished before the season started?
I think fans were saying top six minimum, right?
I actually thought fifth. I said fifth.
So if you finish fourth, that is an overachievement.
No, not for me, because I never rated Man United that bigly, highly either. I thought they had no balance in the team.
Very brave here, Bev.
No, I'm being honest. I said it at the start of the season, and fans were like, "How do you not rate United?" I said they have no balance, and I'm not. And I never rated Solskjaer either.
Yeah, but whether you rated United or not, they were clearly a better team with you further along in the project. Cristiano Ronaldo, Varane signing in the summer.
I disagree, because last season, as Arteta showed in the second half of the season, when he has a number 10 in Smith Rowe and Odegaard, we were second in the league table in terms of form. So that was an indication there that when we have a number 10 available, we're able to play at a higher level. So this season then isn't a shock to me because now we've got Odegaard fully at Arsenal, Smith Rowe fit as well, and better defenders in White, Ramsdale, Tomiyasu. So we were only going to be a top 4 team this year as long as the key players remain fit. And they have remained fit, and we're, as it stands...
I think an overachievement, if you say an overachievement, is if you win the league,
yeah,
or you come second on that. I don't think an overachievement is getting top 4 or top 5. And that
surely it is from
goes,
8, though.
That goes goes with both teams, you know what I mean? Like, or any team really, you know. Manchester United underachieved this season, yeah, definitely you could say that because they come second last season. But what it tells you is that it's a competitive league, you know. Manchester United come second last season, they're 8th this season. That doesn't mean to say they're going to come 4th or 5th this next season.
How do you judge overachievement, though, I think is the question here. So you raised the good point of where would these teams have believed they would finish at the beginning of the season. Sim, what's your views on that one?
Well, I would say that, look, if Arsenal weren't challenging for top 4 this season, that surely would be a big problem, considering the fact that they've had 2 8th place finishes under Mikel Arteta. You're surely thinking, come his 3rd season, he has to at least be looking at close to top 4. You haven't had any European football this season, so 1 game a week pretty much. You've left the FA Cup pretty early as well. So you have to say that as much as maybe opposition fans are looking at Arsenal saying, I don't think you're going to get top 4. Arsenal should expect to be challenging for top 4 this season. So for me, I don't see Arsenal, especially given all the circumstances surrounding this season, I don't think Arsenal fans, I feel like they should expect to be challenging for top 4.
Yeah,
so
I expect Arsenal to be challenging not just for top 4. So I expect Arsenal to be challenging for titles.
So for that perspective, I think that if you don't get top 4 this season, there should be questions asked, I think, for me. And I think that, obviously, they've put themselves in a good position now, but I think 3 seasons into a project, and it's all of a sudden there's people saying it's kind of like a great achievement that you're challenging for top 4. But that's what you should be expecting. You shouldn't be expecting to be like top 6 or something like that if you're expecting to be Arsenal to be back to where they used to be. So
yeah, but you've got to start somewhere,
surprise.
Tim. You've got to start somewhere.
And you started with 2 8th place finishes. And
yeah,
that's where you started. So now is surely the third season.
2-8, that was one was with one FA Cup win.
Yeah.
And a manager halfway through the season. So I'd take that. Last season, wouldn't argue with that. I think that this season, more importantly, fans being back has been a big bonus. I think that's helped tremendously. But I'm with you on that. I think that Arsenal should be challenging for the top 4. I didn't think that they'd get it this season. I'll be honest, but I do expect them to challenge. Next season, I expect us to be challenging for the title. Not saying we're going to win it, but I expect us to be in with a shout. Like Manchester United, what you would have said at the beginning of the season would have expected to be going for the title. But it doesn't mean to say they're going to win it, and I wouldn't say that. But ultimately, Chelsea were expected to challenge for the title this season, not really challenge for it.
No.
So, expectations can be taken to a height, and you can fall and have bad things from it. So I think what Arsenal have done, been very grounded this season, not really going too high in the sky. There's been certain standards that we've got to set. We've now got to go on to them, and I think at this moment in time, Arsenal are in a very, very good position.
Yeah, I'll just say as a last point, in a season where you've had no European football, in a season where Spurs and United have both sacked their managers mid-season, the fact if you don't get top 4 this season, if you're after with all those that going in your favour, if you don't get top 4, I think that's a big missed opportunity for Arsenal.
100%. You know what I mean? Listen, we're 4 points. We're 4 points in front of you with
3 games left.
With 3 games left. If Arsenal don't get top 4, it'd be very, very. Of course, it would be that. But and I agree with you. Don't forget what happened in the beginning of the season. Whatever, we can all go on about that. Ultimately, now we're in a position where we should now top 4.
If I bring it back to the original point, gents, the question here is whether or not Arteta has overachieved with the resources that he's got. Is it an argument, the sort of Spurs argument?
Well, if anything, with the resources that he's had available to him, he's underachieved, right? Mm-hmm. Because he's the biggest spender in the Premier League last summer. Mm-hmm. Finished 8th the season before, and you're only pushing top 4 now because Man United and Spurs pretty much sacked managers throughout the season. I have no qualms about it. If Antonio Conte was at Spurs from the summer onwards, we'd be clearing this top 4. I really believe that, and I think Arteta has clearly...
How do you justify that?
How do I justify that? Because he's come in, first of all, and we were nowhere near top 4 when he's come in, and we've punched ourselves all the way to being challenging with you guys. There was a stage from January onwards where we were the biggest scorers in the league. We were second in the form table in the leagues as well. Antonio Conte has
won the FA Cup then.
Antonio Conte has completely revolutionised this and saved our season. He's completely saved it. We lost to Middlesbrough.
Well, there you go. So who's that down?
And who's the manager then?
It was Conte, but that's got nothing to do with what's gone on in the league.
What about the Carabao Cup semi-final?
That's got nothing on.
You can't go on managers. You can't go on managers. Part of it and everything like that. I don't believe that.
The fact of the matter is that you were the highest spenders in the table this season. Yeah. You spent a few years ago. You spent 75 million on Pepe. You spent a lot of money in the past 3 years.
100%. So have Tottenham. So have Man City. You know what I mean? So have Liverpool.
But the question. But this is the question about Arteta's performance. Is the spending that he's done commensurate with the level that he's reached?
Let's get something
and
straight
other things as well, not just the
straight
spending.
about spending. You know what I mean? £100 million Manchester City spent on one player. Arsenal spent 150 on 3 or 4. So at the end of the day, is it 6 players? Yeah. So at the end of the day, yeah, we spent a lot, mate, but it's irrelevant into that. I don't think that Mikel's a very inexperienced manager in certain things and all that. Has he overachieved? No, he's not. Has he underachieved? No, you know what I mean? I think Arsenal are where they should be at this moment in time. That doesn't mean to say that I want to be here next season.
No. I think it depends on your thoughts on Arteta. So if you didn't rate Arteta last season and you thought he was the worst manager in the league, then you think he's overachieving. I myself was still backing him last season because I saw what he was doing and what he was trying to do in terms of behind the scenes. So this year, for me, I'm not surprised to see Arsenal in top 4 because I believe in Arteta.
There's 2 ways you can look at it, isn't there? Because I think that you've overachieved in terms of fans' expectations.
Yeah.
And I think you've underachieved in terms of how much money you've spent and where you should be.
I disagree because every team spends money nowadays. How much did you guys spend in the summer?
Not a lot.
Not a huge
Nowhere
amount.
near
I
as
mean,
much.
but you've
Romero
also-
cost 50
you've
million
also
pounds,
spent
no?
money in
No,
January.
he actually
We
brought him
hadn't
on
spent
loan.
nothing in January. You spent money. Other
Yeah,
teams
you
have spent money.
signed
in
two
January.
players in January.
No, but put it this way:
We needed to spend that money. You look at Liverpool. Our ambition is to be with the top teams, right? Your Liverpools, your Cities, and even United. They spend money as well. To do that, we had to spend money. We had years of neglect under Arsene Wenger. We were spending no money, always in a net profit. So now we have this money available. We're spending it. It's not a bad thing, is it? Especially if Arsenal are improving
I'm
as a
not
team
saying
as
it's
well.
a bad thing to spend the money, but I'm just saying that with the money you're spending, you expect to be concealed into that top four this year at least.
And we are right now, are we?
Well,
So the question
As
is,
it
well,
stands, as of
that's
today,
the
right
next
now.
question,
Of
James.
course
At
it's
the
not
end of the
over.
day, if anybody's got anybody with a lot of money and then was going to back on what would be the top four, and that's just me, that was been Manchester City, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Manchester United. That would have been the back four. That would have been the top four. I don't think anybody. So to get into that top four, it's difficult. At the beginning of the season, I will actually tip Man United to do a lot better than what they did. Manchester United come second last season, by the way, so there's been a real fallout of that. So what it gives you is an opportunity, and that opportunity has got to be taken by either Arsenal or Spurs now, because I don't think that those opportunities will come along too often because of the money of those teams being split. Chelsea, I think, Chelsea could be a team that's going to come back into the realms of Arsenal and Spurs, and in the remit we've got. They've been running, by the way, £900,000 a week loss, and how the hell are Arsenal, when you say about underachieving, and Tottenham expected to compete with somebody like that that's completely losing money week in week? It don't matter. We carry on doing what we're doing. Arsenal and Spurs, whether you like Arsenal or you like Tottenham or whatever, are trying to do it the right way. So I don't think there is an underachieving thing. If you look at it, the one team that's underachieving is Chelsea. When you're all that money around,
Agreed.
and we're 1 point behind them. And
obviously Man United as well.
Yeah.
Manchester United. So Arsenal and Spurs is. If you like Arsenal and Spurs, the way that they're doing things is a lot in the remits of everything there. So you're going to get failure, and you're going to get times when you're going to be successful. But ultimately, you're up against animals like Manchester City and Chelsea. Very, very difficult to go with. Liverpool, I think, are doing what they're doing, and Manchester United are always going to be Manchester United. So those four teams, and you've got to ring now Newcastle
as
come
well,
into that
correct,
as well. So Arsenal and Spurs are swimming against the tide.
So I think it's fair to say that the opinion is split. I think the Spurs view is that Arteta's overchased.
Can we turn that around and say it's Conte
Well,
underachieved?
Lee, we may come to that, we may not. But I think we can agree that whenever Spurs and Arsenal fans come together, they all agree that everyone hates Chelsea.
That's definitely true.
So, speaking of Arteta's overachievement and the resources that he's had, currently, and we'll go to Ben on this one first, are Spurs a better team currently than Arsenal?
A better team. I mean, how do you judge a better team? First of all, that's a big question. But I think that we've got the better manager. I think that's for sure. I don't think anyone could argue that, to be honest. In terms of players, we've got match winners in our team. Arsenal don't have that. We've currently got world-class players in our team. Arsenal don't have that. And I think if you were to do a combined 11, which watch out for, that's coming soon, I think it will be majority Tottenham players. So in that sense, yes, I think Spurs are a better team than Arsenal. But the fact of the matter is, Arsenal have been together a lot longer with their manager in their process, a lot longer than Spurs. But I think that with Conte now at the helm, and with the players that he's got around him, with the players that potentially we can bring in the summer, but forget the players that we can bring in the summer, with the players that we've got now, yes, I believe Tottenham are a better team than Arsenal.
So why are you 4 points behind us then?
Because circumstances that have placed this season, with Nuno coming in, Nuno getting sacked halfway through the season, we've got a world-class manager in now. We've got a world-class manager in now, and we've got world-class players around him.
So you've got world-class players that we don't have, a better manager that we don't have.
Do you have a player on the same level as Harry Kane?
No, we don't. That's the point.
Do you have a
right?
player on the same level
So
as
then
Heung-min
why
Son?
are you still 4 points behind us? If
Romero?
it's this great team,
Well,
I just told you why, because the circumstances.
What's the circumstances?
We lost our manager halfway through the
I
season
think
because
the
he wasn't good
argument.
enough.
I think the argument is that having to change a manager partway through
but you
a
always
season
had better
would
players
be-
than haven't you? Because these players have still been there before under Nuno as well.
Well,
Harry Kane didn't perform for the first half of the season.
I mean, that's not circumstances. That's the player not
That
choosing
is
not to play.
circumstances because of Nuno and the decisions that this board took.
It's a great argument. Listen, 2 years ago, Spurs were a better team than Arsenal, and over the last couple of seasons they have been. But because you've got superstar players, Manchester United have got better players than Arsenal and Spurs, but they're nowhere near as good as Arsenal and Spurs this season. And the reason is because, I say the word team. Tottenham at this moment in time have got 2 world-class players. I'm not going to argue with that. Like, they've got 2 world-class players. But I think Arsenal have got a better team, better understanding because of what you've just turned around and said. And also, I think potentially Arsenal have got some big hitters. But we haven't got those world-class players, which you have to rely on. And sometimes when you're relying on a couple of players, sometimes that if they have a poor game, then as you've seen in the past. Listen, let's not go sugarcoating it here. Like we've lost double figures in games this season, same as Spurs. And the reason it is of that is because Harry Kane and Song may be injured or not turned up, and then Tottenham are struggling a little bit because the rest of the players at Tottenham are not on the level of them two.
Well, I just think in terms of Spurs under Conte, we are capable of results that Arsenal just simply aren't capable of. We went away at Anfield and got a credible draw. In fact, we probably should have won that. Yeah. We went to the Etihad and deserved to win. Arsenal simply aren't capable of those kind of results. I think the progression we've made since Conte took over to now is we've pretty much almost caught up with Arsenal in terms of their whole project in a matter of months. And that's why I believe that right now, both teams, as it stands, I do think Spurs currently are the better team, despite the fact that Arsenal have been longer together and that they do have that togetherness and they do have that ability to grind out results. Fair enough, they've done that recently, quite impressively. But I think if you want in a big game, especially in a North London derby like Thursday,
how'd you get on at Stamford Bridge?
Sorry,
how'd you get on at Stamford Bridge?
We lost.
But I thought you were capable of results that we weren't.
Yeah, we've got 8 points against Man City and Liverpool. How many points you got against Man City and Liverpool?
That was my point. Because then what happened against Brentford then?
0.
What happened against Brentford? What happened
lost
against
to Brentford
Brighton?
as well.
No, we did. The point is this though. The reason why Arsenal are 4 points clear of Spurs with 3 games left to go is because we are the better team, right? And we played with a better team.
Well,
Here we go.
The reason that we're above them at the moment is because maybe, listen, the reason that we're above Spurs in theory, not many teams, and I'll give them their credit for that, not many teams go to Man City and have beat them home and away. You have to give credit where it's credit's due. But ultimately, when they say, we've beaten Man City, that's great. You don't get nothing for that. You know what I mean? You get 3 points for that. But Manchester United at home, I don't know how they got on against Man United. You have to remind me.
So what about with Conte at Old Trafford?
Yeah, we should have won
lost
that
Old
game.
Trafford.
We lost Old Trafford, but we won at home.
We won at home.
We should have won that game.
West Ham away is a difficult place to go to. Tottenham lost there. You know what I mean? It swings and roundabouts on things like that. I don't think you can go, we've done this and we've done that.
I think it's kind of...
It's down to...
For me,
aren't we discussing results here rather than actually looking at the team?
I will go through the team.
Listen, I'll tell you,
who can you argue has got the better team?
A great point on this is, and this is where you can't go on to results and all that lot, because you played Newcastle away to a different Newcastle are now. You know what I mean? So it swings and roundabouts on that fight. It's what can you do against each other and whatever And I think at the end of the day.
But I think Liverpool and Man City are very good barometers because they've been solid teams. They don't change really. They're pretty much in very similar circumstances for the whole season.
I disagree.
And I think the way you get results against them, how you look against them, could be a very good barometer about how good the team is.
I get that. So you've beaten Man City this season and
2 draws
against
Liverpool.
2 seasons and all that. But then what. You haven't lost. You can't beat Brighton at home. Like Arsenal can't beat Brighton at home. You can't beat Arsenal. When are you going to beat Arsenal away from home? It's been a long time.
When are you going to beat us at our place? It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. That's what I'm saying. So you can't. These things. You've got the little bit of a sign over Man City. The Champions League final in that run there. Things went that way. I think you get teams like that, a little bit like that, So
I think this year we've been the highest scorers, in 2022. I just think the progression, at the moment, if you're taking the whole season as a whole, obviously, you're 4 points ahead. And because of how the first 10 games of the season, we had Nuno. And that we made a horrible decision this summer to not go all out to get Conte. We thought we could be cheapskates and go for Nuno. And that's going to cost us. It might cost us. It looks like it will, how current things stand in the league table. But since Conte's come in, And as the teams are as we are now, I think we are the better team.
I think you watch both performances against Brighton. We both lost the game, right? But look how Arsenal lost compared to how you lost. We lost because we didn't take our chances. You got battered, dominated. They nullified. You had 0 shots on target. Arsenal don't have those games anymore. So the reason why we've lost to Liverpool at home,
Palace already
right?
had that game.
No, we weren't battered though. You had no shots on
You lost
target.
3-0.
At Palace, you were battered.
No, but if you watch that Palace game, for example, we dominated all the second half. You don't even have that.
You
see, I think what
It depends on what your style of football is. If you like a
dominated
pragmatic
in the
approach,
last
Spurs
10
are the
minutes
team,
when you were
right?
pushing for a goal.
If you want a team that's pragmatic, Spurs is your team. If you want a team that is more likely to dominate the game and phases of play, like a game on the weekend,
Gents, I think
Leeds Arsenal.
we're descending into tactical talk here.
But that's the whole
question
point.
here-
We
the
are a better
question
tactical team, in my
The
opinion.
question here is whether or not Spurs have got the better team or Arsenal. This is taking it back to paper. So if you were going to sit down and on paper you had to pick one or the other, which team would you choose?
pick the
Which
team with the
squad
world-class
would you
players.
choose? Would you
You
choose
pick the team with
Spurs
the
or would you
world-class players.
World-class
choose
players,
Arsenal?
but absolute other players.
Well, no,
pretty
I
average.
say, you know, I mean, Arsenal.
And you don't have average players?
Arsenal have
No,
won.
if you look at our starting 11 compared to Spurs' starting 11, yeah, and go player for player, you've got the two obvious ones, but the rest of the team, you have Eric Dyers, Emerson Royals. I don't rate Højbjerg either. I think Lloris is a bit past it in terms of modern day goalkeeper playing out of the back, right? Your left back, who's at Reguilon, I don't rate him either. So you've got two
Oh,
world class
Ben Davies
players.
is playing
Ben
there.
Davis as well, don't rate him either. You got Romero's a good player, right? But you've got these couple, like Kulusevski's a good player as well. But we've got Bukayo Saka. You look at the back four, for example. I prefer our goalkeeper in terms of the playing out of the back. That's my personal preference. You look at the right
I
back.
think our front three walk into your team, easily walk.
So you
into
think
your team.
Kulusevski gets over Saka?
100%.
I do.
100%.
We'll keep
tell me
this
why.
for the
Tell me-
We'll do this in
We'll
the
do this
11.
in the-
We'll do
yeah,
this in
I was gonna
combined
say.
11.
No, keep this for
So
combined 11.
we'll go round one more time, okay? And I think I know how the answers are going to go. But Sim, who's got the better team, Spurs
think-
or Arsenal?
Spurs have the better team
Spurs?
right now. Since Conte's come in, we are the better team.
Ben,
Agreed. Exactly the same. We're a better team.
Lee?
I disagree. I think Arsenal are a better team.
and Babs.
Arsenal.
There we go. Split opinion again. But as always, we all hate Chelsea.
And West Ham.
And West Ham, yeah. So, speaking of the current team, obviously both clubs, it could be argued, are in a period of transition. Maybe Arsenal are further ahead, maybe not. But for whom does the future look brighter? Spurs or Arsenal? And we'll start with Lee on this one, I think.
That's a good question. I think Arsenal's future is bright because of the young players they've got. You know, Saka is a class player now at 20 years of age. You know, we've got Smith Rowe. Martinelli is a class player at a young age. The ceiling of those players is very, very good. Odegaard's 22. And you look at the young back four to a certain degree as well. Ramsdale's 20s. You know, like Tommy Asu, I didn't realise he was only about 24. Like, you know, so
22, I think.
is he maybe even younger? So I think that Arsenal's future is very, very good there. There's a togetherness at Arsenal, which, by the way, hasn't been there for a while. And I think that with Arsenal, if you're going to go on the future, I think it's much, much brighter. With Spurs, I think it's really here and now with the Conte signing as a manager. Would you bet on a lot of money that he's going to be here in 2 or 3 years' time? Not really. I remember saying it to you guys a little while about another manager. Oh, well, he'll still be here. I'm telling you, like, you know, that he probably.
Yeah, but
be
that
here.
wasn't to do with Jose.
No.
right?
Well, I did tell you. We can go back on it. I said he won't be here next year. Yes, he will be. Like, you know what I mean?
He's got
And
the
he
receipts.
wasn't. But so I do feel that it's here and now for Spurs. I'm not having a criticism or go. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Like with the Conte coming in, I think it's rather here and there. Where I think the future, I think it's very, very bright for Arsenal.
Interesting. Ben?
I think it's very dependent on certain situations. So the only thing that's holding Tottenham back is Daniel Levy. That is the only thing holding Tottenham back. So Conte said last week, he said, if he has the chance to emulate Klopp at Liverpool, if someone gives him the chance, aka Daniel Levy, he'll be here to see out that project.
So he'll sign a contract.
And he would sign that contract and he'll happily stay at Tottenham to achieve those things. And he can achieve those things if Daniel Levy lets him achieve those things. If Daniel Levy gives him exactly what he wants and backs him to the way he wants to be backed, I believe that Tottenham do have a bigger future than Arsenal. If he doesn't, then I completely agree with you that Arsenal have a bigger future than Tottenham.
Look, can I just say something about Daniel Levy? Of
course, as long as it's derogatory.
Lots of Spurs fans slag him off, but under his tenure, right? Spurs have come to a team now challenging Arsenal, whether Arsenal drop down or not, I don't care. Challenging to Arsenal, getting into top 4 and challenging for titles that I've never seen in my lifetime with Tottenham.
Thank God Brian Daigle isn't here.
But ultimately, and that's been under like Daniel Levy's tenure, and a lot of, like chuck money at it, like, I mean, Spurs have never been a team, going back all through my life of following, have never been like that. But like all of a sudden now you've got a team that we're talking about on a level par with Arsenal, and he seems to get a lot of criticism. I don't know, I'm looking from the outside in, like, you know what I mean? So
redirect, gents.
I would say that look, there has been progression since Levy's come in. I can't deny that, but there's a reason why we're in the position. Obviously, we have Conte now, and fair play, he brought Conte in, but we were all over the place for about 3 years.
You've been all over the place for many years before.
No, we haven't. We weren't. Pochettino, Pochettino...
Forget about Pochettino. I'm talking about going in the 80s and 90s. Just going into the 90s, you're like all over the place.
Yeah, but you want to go on the right track. You want your club to be in a situation where...
And stay on the right path.
Exactly. We put
ourselves
ourselves on a good path.
That,
well, he I think he lost his way. I think completely. I think he didn't know how to manage the situation when we were under Pochettino. He thought that he could just ride the wave. He can just keep everything the same. He didn't have to change anything. Don't rock the boat. Don't have to give Pochettino what he wants. Just keep the same players. Let it go stale. And he thought we would just keep progressing. We didn't. Things went stale. Players weren't changed. Needed a refresh. You need new energy in the squad. And by the time he decided that to get 1 or 2 players, it was too late. And what he should have done was he should have stuck by Pochettino and he'd given him a different rebuild. But he decided to sack him and go for Jose Mourinho. Then the Mourinho thing happened. He didn't exactly give Mourinho what he wanted. And then he sacked Mourinho 6 days before a cup final. And then he spent the whole summer flirting with Pochettino and Conte. Ended up with Nuno Espirito Santo. And then we ended up with the whole
Super League
thing.
Stuff and all that kind
and the
of
Super
stuff.
League. So look, I think that Daniel Levy has completely lost his way in terms of decision making. I think he's going to be the key in terms of whether Tottenham from now going forward. Look, he's got a big opportunity now. He's got Antonio Conte, a world-class manager, one of the best managers in the Premier League. I think out of the two of us, we have currently the better manager. He has to make sure that he gives him the tools, because right now, I think Bavs is probably right. A lot of our players are average, but the fact that we're challenging for top 4 shows how good of a manager he is, and shows if he actually improves the squad, gives him the players that can actually challenge for titles. We can do that. He's proven it over his whole career. At every club he's been at, he's won titles and he's challenged for titles. And even at Juventus, he was there for 3-4 years, so he's been there for a good amount of time. So in terms of the future, as long as we stick with Conte, as long as we keep him happy, our future's brighter.
So you as Spurs and Spurs fans, and I'm not having a go at you. You're expecting to challenge for titles
if we keep Conte.
But you've never challenged for titles when Levy's not been there. That's my point. Well, you know what I mean? Like before Levy came in, he was never challenging for titles. Now all of a sudden he's there. He is challenging for titles and all that.
I think we're delving into the history of Spurs there. The key question here is, from the relative positions that we are in as clubs, Spurs and Arsenal, for whom does the future look brighter?
I think it's Arsenal. And I think the reason behind that, as you said, is Daniel Levy. Thank you very much for him, because he's holding you guys back. And I also believe Spurs are at the end of their cycle. Harry Kane is not 30, now 29. How many years can he keep doing this? 28, for example. By the time Saka...
Benzema, Lewandowski.
Of course, but they are in winning teams, and Spurs are a losing team. They always have been. As he said, they are. A losing team is a team that doesn't win titles. When's your last league title? Do you know what I mean? This is the silence. There's a reason behind that. The point is, Arsenal historically are a winning team. You don't win 13 league titles and not be a winning team, right? So Arsenal fans should expect a title charge, because we are used to seeing that, as Lee saw, for example, right?
When's the last title charge you've seen in your lifetime?
I'd say probably 2010, 2007, I think.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, but it's a lot.
You're talking about teams.
But the point is here. The point is this: the reason why Arsenal's future is brighter is not only have we got the younger players that will only get better with time, with experience alone, right? I also think finances. Last summer showed that the owners are now backing the manager. £150 million spent, no big sales, no European football. Spurs would never do that.
You had no big sales
right?
to do.
So
no, that's the point. So we're investing money now.
Put a hypothetical in here.
Yes.
Let us take the hypothetical that Daniel Levy or whoever is in charge of Spurs will back the manager to a acceptable degree. In that scenario, whose future is brighter?
Spurs, 100%. 100%.
Well, brighter in what? Because I don't matter how much.
It's a difficult
money,
one to
What is
define.
what
how
is
much
bright?
money are Arsenal and Spurs spend over the next, say, like, Tottenham not going to win the league, and nor are Arsenal, because you look at Manchester
Conte's
City,
here
like,
next
just gone and
season, who
bought-
finishes
you ain't
higher?
you're not going to. When Harry Kane leaves Tottenham, right? You are not going to replace Harry Kane with a Haaland or somebody like that. You've got to be realistic, like, you know what I mean? Manchester City, by the way.
Would Arsenal?
No, but Manchester City can. So that's who you're competing with, like, to win leagues. And
I
all
think
that,
we're
like.
getting bogged down in the idea
Yeah,
of
but
winning
you can
the
talk.
title.
Yeah, exactly. You can talk about
Yeah.
Spurs or Arsenal winning the title, which is highly unlikely for both of us next season,
Yeah.
right? No matter how much each of us get back, we're talking about who has a brighter future.
Well, and I think Badge made a great point there. Like, you know, somewhere along the line, I think Tottenham are a very good side at the moment because of Harry Kane. But what happens when Harry Kane goes? Are Tottenham going to have that Harry Kane scenario? They don't come around very
You
often.
could be talking about 5-6 years in the future. But Harry Kane could be here for a very long time. And as we've seen
Well,
right now,
he wanted to leave last
he
season.
did want to leave
So
last season.
we're-
Now we have Antonio Conte. It's a different situation. Things
Yeah,
have
but
changed.
if I-
Circumstance change and players change.
What if
there.
Conte goes? It's just not out of bounds that he goes, right?
It's not
What
out of
happens
bounds,
then?
but right now it looks like he's
See,
gonna
If
stay.
Arsenal's-
Conte goes, it's because Levy has not given him the tools to do the job.
Or he gets a
And the
better offer.
hypothetical that
Yeah.
and the
Or he
hypothetical
gets
that
a
was
better
posited-
offer.
And the hypothetical that was posited is that Daniel Levy does back Conte. So the idea that Conte will leave, I mean, it may happen, it may not happen.
Conte
but
doesn't leave.
We're talking about if Levy backs him, who's got the brighter future?
Conte hasn't got a history of leaving clubs because he's got a better offer. That's never happened. He leaves clubs because clubs don't give him what he wants or what he needs.
But with all due
That's what happens.
with all due respect, out of the clubs that he's been at, this is probably the smallest club. Juventus, Chelsea, Inter Milan, these teams win titles,
Yeah.
and he wins trophies. He wants to win trophies. He's not going to do that at Spurs. He
If
wants to
he's
win
backed-
titles,
if he's
even
backed,
if he's
why not?
backed.
Why not?
Because the point is, he's not going to get as much backing as Man City get.
So what?
So then, how's he going to compete with those guys?
Liverpool didn't back, they weren't as backed as Man City were. They're still winning titles and Champions League.
Liverpool had a structure in place behind the scenes, which brought them Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, and players like that.
that's
Spurs don't
exactly-
have an elite scouting structure because if they did, you wouldn't sign players like Emerson Royale.
But we're signing
How many
players
games
like
did- how many games did
Christian
Liverpool lost
Romero,
this season?
Bentancur, Kulusevski,
And they're still
all three
not gonna
players
win
that
the
you're saying are
league.
good.
No,
One
players.
thing- the one thing
It's a
I'll say
difficult
with
thing to
regard,
say.
with regard to the scouting setup, yes, Babs, you're right. We don't have that setup at the moment, although we did have. That was taken apart, but what Paratici, the director of football, has said is that he's going to be working on that. This, from moving forward, he's about to appoint his number 2. If those things are coming in place, when I say if Levy were to back Conte, we are talking about Levy changing his entire modus operandi and actually doing football things. In that scenario, who has the brighter future? Which I also agree is a very difficult thing to define. What is brighter?
So
But
you wouldn't
who
swap
would you
Arteta
have
for
more
Conte?
confidence in? To sort
For
of
what
go
we
out
require,
and-
I wouldn't.
It doesn't even necessarily have to be about winning a specific title. It could be finishing higher above them in the league, going further in cups. Who would you say has got the brighter future going forward under those
I
hypothetical
think like,
circumstances?
it's a great question, but I'll still say it now. I think you're right. Conte is probably the better coach, and
He is the better coach right now, yeah.
He is the better coach, but I think that Arsenal have got better younger players, and it's a very, very difficult thing to say what's going to be backed and whatever. And I'll say this now: it doesn't matter about money. You can chuck the money at it. Arsenal chuck money at it. Tottenham, Manchester United chuck money at it. It doesn't necessarily work.
It's all about good recruitment.
You've got to have a
Good
philosophy. And if
And
you
you
look at
can
both
see
clubs
Tom-
right now, Arsenal have a philosophy.
You can see our
With
philosophy.
Spurs, if you had a philosophy, you wouldn't have imported Nuno Espirito Santo at the start of the season. There is this change of, that's why you changed halfway through the season. You didn't have a philosophy, so you tried something, didn't quite work out, so you changed it again.
And that is
Arsenal
the
have stuck to their
problem with
guns.
the Tottenham hierarchy.
Exactly. Arsenal have stuck to their guns. The board have stuck to their guns. 16th, 8th, or 4th, they've stuck to their guns. Right? That's why, for me, that extra security Arteta has, right, is when you sign players now. If you sign a player this summer with Conte, can you offer him the chance that this Conte's going to be there next season? I don't think you can.
Is that
you?
philosophy changing, Sim?
I think so. I'd like to hope so. That's the noises we're hearing, but obviously nothing's guaranteed with this football club. But in terms of, I think we've got an opportunity with Antonio Conte. He's here with somebody he's worked with before, Fabio Paratici. They've got a very close connection. They want to build something at Tottenham, which they haven't done before. Something that not just winning trophies with the Super Club, actually building a project with Tottenham. I think maybe for the first time, and we've seen it took Conte a few months, but you're seeing the roots of it right now. The how we've performed since he's come in from November. The fact we're in a shot with top four shows that his philosophy and his tactics do very well when given time and given resources. And so if you just give him a few more of his players, I think and I think his philosophy is all there for all to see. We play free at the back, we press very aggressively, we exploit the spaces when they're there. I think Conte has a very clear philosophy, and I think if we stick with it in the summer, I think our future is there for all to see.
You asked a hypothetical question, right? If Levy changes his way, let's speak reality now. Do you think he will change his ways?
I think the fact he brought Conte is an indication of that. I think the
He
fact
brought Mourinho, no?
I think the fact he brought Antonio Conte, I think he might have backed Mourinho more if the pandemic and all that whatever didn't happen. But look, I think the fact that he decided to basically bite his lip and to bring Antonio Conte is, I'm hoping, a indication that he got it wrong with Nuno, and he got it wrong by not giving Antonio Conte the money he did in the first place. And maybe we're starting to see a change in his philosophy in terms of, instead of just always trying to be the underdog and always trying to save a few pennies, actually having, with the opportunity of having a world-class manager, make the most of it. And I'm hoping we're going to do that.
So you're hoping, I can speak with a surety, we'll spend money this summer, like last summer and the summer before that. You guys can't do that. That's a difference. And money speaks in football nowadays. We can if we get Champions League football on top of the finances, exactly. And you look at Arsenal signings in the summer, they were all laughed at, but quite clearly they've improved Arsenal. So if we go on that same trajectory and spend more money and have the finances and the potential attraction of the Champions League, I think it's an obvious answer.
It's not obvious.
An interesting debate, which leads on to the next question, in actual fact. And we'll start with you, Ben.
Again, go on.
Will Conte... Sorry, we'll start with Lou. No, we'll start with you, Ben. Will Conte win more trophies than Arteta?
Do you know what a trophy is, by the way? Just checking.
Will Conte win more? Again, but it all goes back to the same thing, doesn't
Correct.
it? It all goes back to the exact same thing. We can just replay the conversation that we've just had, and it's exactly the same thing. If Daniel Levy backs Conte, then my answer is yes. If he doesn't, then my answer is no. I can't say more than that.
Babs, under those circumstances, answer both ways, if Levy backs Conte and if Levy doesn't back Conte, will he win more trophies than Arteta?
I think there's a bigger issue at Spurs than just the manager, the players. There's a mentality issue, right? There's a big mentality issue. Arsenal, even at our worst, 8th place under Arteta's first year, we were mid-table, still in an FA Cup. Right, we do that. It's in Arsenal's DNA to win trophies, even at our worst. Under Arsene Wenger towards the end. Under Arsene Wenger towards the end, again, we won a trophy. It was the FA Cup. You guys don't have that, and I think there's a issue behind the scenes, whether it's not just the manager but the board as well. Do they have the decisiveness in the transfer market to make the right signings to push on towards that? I doubt that, and I think you guys are hoping that. Of course, as fans, you want to have hope, but it's the hope that kills you guys, because I don't see it happening. I don't see that happening, and therefore at Arsenal, because first things first, I don't think Conte will be here next season, or past that at least. I think Arteta will, and Arteta's already proven in the first 6 months that he can win a trophy.
If he doesn't get sacked.
Right, he won 2 if you want to count honours, if you count a Community Shield, for example, right? But he can, Arsenal win more trophies in general, and Arsenal spend more money. So for me, I think it's again Arsenal, but I'm not saying Conte's not a better manager. Of course, Conte is better than Arteta at winning trophies. But I don't see him getting that financial...
Only a few weeks ago, I was hearing Arsenal fans going, Arteta out, Arteta out, Arteta out.
You listen to what Arsenal fans you want to listen to. I wasn't saying that.
It wasn't that long ago that Conte was wanting out himself.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Conte's first week...
You cannot say that like
but
that.
why was he wanting out?
Because things weren't going well, results ain't going well. This is a great debate. I'll tell you, Tottenham or Arsenal win trophies, it depends. And I'll tell you how it depends on what competitions they're in for a start.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, for instance, if you're in a Champions League, the chances are you're not going to win that. And if you're in the title race, you're not going to, so you've only got the FA Cup, Europa League. If Tottenham are in the Europa League this season,
which
they've got, which they've got the same as Arsenal. I think you're more guaranteed that Arsenal or Spurs, if they were to go into the Europa League this season, have got more chance of winning that than the Champions League.
But you were in the Conference League. That was an opportunity to win a trophy.
And why did we get knocked out of that?
And it looks like, that's what I'm saying, your club, there you go, your club's against...
But Tottenham could have won that.
And I'll give you another example, the best example here, which proves Tottenham's board's motives behind the scenes. You're in a Carling Cup, or was a Carling Cup, Carabao Cup final. You've got Mourinho, who's won trophies everywhere he's gone. Chance to win your first trophy in I don't know how long.
Since 2000.
And what happened?
But that does drift from
you sacked him.
But that
that's
does
my
drift from the point. And I did specify, Babs, if you in your answer, both scenarios. So if Conte is backed and stays, will he win more than Arteta? Obviously, if he isn't backed and leaves, then the answer is by default, well, probably not. It becomes a lot less likely. But under the circumstances that Conte stays and is backed, will he be more successful than Arteta?
Does Arteta get backed as well, if we're going both ways?
Yeah, of course.
I tell you what, Conte is a great manager, but we're closer in terms of, I think our team is closer to becoming complete in terms of players. We don't have that many more weaknesses.
Completely
You guys
nonsense.
have some positions like left back and right back, and even some centre backs.
Even your mate doesn't even.
I know. I'm
The hesitancy from Conte.
Surprised if
There's
Conte.
dissent-
I'll be
there's dissent in
I'll be
the
really
Arsenal
surprised.
ranks,
No,
people.
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not taking a mickey with that. That Tottenham won't win nothing under Conte, right? And Arsenal won't either, because I tell you why. The 4 trophies are up for grabs. You've got better teams going for them. You know what I mean? Like Manchester City and Liverpool are at least going to get, over the next few seasons, 1 each. And I keep emphasising the fact is, Newcastle coming up on the rounds. You know what I mean? So if you get 1 trophy in the next few years, listen, you know it more than us, right? And I'm not being facetious or anything like that. It is very, very difficult to win a trophy. Very, very difficult. So I'm not going to turn around and say, yeah, Arsenal are going to win trophies over the next few years, because they could do, but there's a chance that they might not. And the same with Spurs. I wouldn't back any of them.
There's
to
no
win
obvious
a
answer,
trophy.
I say.
Yeah,
Fair enough. Okay.
I think we're all in agreement.
Yeah,
with
we
that.
agree.
Something else that we agree on. Okay. So, obviously, coming up on Thursday is a big thing. But before we just get to that, actually, I've got another question.
Mm-hmm.
Will Arteta be sacked next season?
Will he be sacked?
Will he be sacked?
Yes. Will he survive next season?
I think if he does go on a few of the similar runs that he went on this season, I don't think he can survive it again.
Good point.
Yeah.
I don't think he can survive it again. I mean, he survived an 8th place finish last year against some of the Arsenal fans as well. This year, I mean, I've heard Arsenal fans intermittently calling for him out, in, out, shake it all about. You do the Arteta and you stick around, and that's what it's all about. But I think that Mikel Arteta, he can't survive another season like this. I think he needs to be concealed and solid in the top 4 next season if he's going to keep his job.
Babs, you've been a backer of Arteta for his tenure. Will he survive next season?
I think so, because I think next year, with the right signings in the summer, and the right investment, and potentially with the Champions League, I'm not just looking at security at top 4. I'm looking for competing now. Whether it's getting to the knockout, but deep to the knockouts of the Champions League, fighting for 3rd place, which as it stands, we're even right now we're only 1 point away from that. So, do I see Arsenal getting better? Yes, I do. So therefore, Arsenal will be a more comfortable top 4 team next year. Hopefully, closing the gap to City and Liverpool, and hopefully maybe win a trophy as well. So I don't see Arteta getting sacked now.
I would say if Arsenal crumble in the next 3 games and don't make top 4, he is going to be under serious pressure going to next season. And with the added European games, obviously you'll hope to improve the squad, but with the added European games with Spurs hopefully back in Conte, and Ten Hag is going to be new at Man United, or who knows what's going to be happening with Chelsea, I see more struggle for Arsenal. And if you don't look like getting top 4 again next season, I think he might be sacked, yes. But if you do get top 4 this season, it changes the dynamic a bit, because he has achieved something which you were hoping to achieve this season. So I think he might get more leeway next season if you do get top 4. But if you do get top 4 this season and you don't get it next season, how can you justify not sacking him?
100%. If we don't get Champions League this season, there's massive pressure. And if we don't get it next year, he deserves to go. I'll say that right now.
Lee?
One thing I admire about Tottenham, and there's not much, but one thing I do admire them about is they're ruthless. Whether you like Levy or not, he's ruthless. If things are not working, ruthless. Nuno weren't working, gone. Mourinho, never going to work. Said that to you guys, never going to work. Ruthless. Arsenal are not ruthless. Not ruthless on things like that. If you ever look at the history of Arsenal Football Club, managers have always had a long tenure.
Was there not some ruthlessness with Unai Emery?
Not really.
No?
Not really, because I think if you'd have been ruthless, you'd have got rid of him after the Europa League. If
Do you
I'll
think
be honest.
Arteta should have gone already? Would you have sacked
I
him
think he's
already?
very, very fortunate to be in a job. You know what I mean? With all those defeats last season, I'm going
He's
to say
got away
I've
with more
always
than
said that.
Unai.
Yeah.
He's got away with much more than Unai.
He's
Yes.
very, 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 very lucky to survive that. I don't think you'd survive at any other big club, if I'll be honest. and that's why I don't think that they'll get rid of him, because there's that not.
Complete trust.
Yeah, there's a little bit more with Arsenal. I don't know. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I don't think Arsenal was as ruthless as they should be with other like other clubs are. So I think from that reason that he'll survive. And let's not get around it. You know, you get into the top 4 this season doesn't mean to say next season you're guaranteed top 4. It doesn't mean to say that you're going to go on and do things and all that because you have a look at other teams. I don't see that. So I think that there's a plan with Arsenal, and they're going to back him. And if you don't get sacked after what he done last season, you ain't going to get sacked after getting them into top 4 if that happens.
Exactly.
So now to the last question. So we'll do it in 2 parts. We'll go round first and do the one-word answers, and then each of you can can't even speak. You can each expand on your answers. Okay. So we'll start with you, Sim. Who's going to win Thursday's North London derby?
No other option. It has to be Spurs.
Ben?
Absolutely, the Lily White's going to take this one.
Lee?
We don't have to lose. You know what I mean? So I think Arsenal are in a good position.
Babs?
That's a draw.
Okay. So Sim?
No confidence that they're going to get the
What do you
win,
think?
but I'm
Why
confident. I think in these big games, I think we've shown under Antonio Conte that we have the minerals to get the win that we need. I think at home, first North London derby at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in front of a full capacity crowd. The atmosphere should be electric. I think we know we need to win. We know what we need to do. Arsenal are unsure of themselves. Do we go for the win? Do we go for the draw? I don't think they're 100% confident in what their plan's going to be. I think with the match winners we have, Harry Kane's record in a North London derby, I think we 100% know what we need to do going into this game. So I think we've proven in the big games that we have the capacity to get big results. So I'm going for the Spurs win.
Ben?
Absolutely. Arsenal fans going to be running the gauntlet from Seven Sisters down the High Road all the way to White Hart Lane on the weekend. And under the lights, first North London derby at the stadium, like my brother said, it's got a sense of inevitability about it. And we just can't afford to lose this one. We cannot afford to lose. We can't afford to draw. Arsenal are going to try and come and stifle us and put 5 at the back, 11 men behind the ball. And I think if we get an early goal, and I believe we will get that early goal, I think the floodgates can open. I really believe that. And we just have no option. We have to win this game.
That's if they turn up.
If.
Lee?
We'll turn up. Don't worry about that.
No guarantees. No guarantees.
What happened there?
No guarantees.
You sure you're not going to call this one off?
You know, we'll be there. I think that I think the first 20. I think you made a great point there about the first 20 minutes. I think if Arsenal keep it tight, and don't concede. I think that's where Tottenham that 4-point cushion. I think is a big thing for us, because I think Tottenham's strength is on the counter attack. So they're going to have to come in and at some stage go for it. And if they do, 10 minutes from the end, if it's still level, a draw I don't think it's good enough for Spurs, and that might play into Arsenal's hands. So I think it's going to be a very, very tactical sort of a game. I think if Arsenal ride that first 20 minutes, then I'll be a little bit more confident going into it. But I'm going to tell you this now, not like Spurs fans, that every time we play at the Emirates, they go, 3-0, 2-0, we're going to win this, we're going to win that, and then every time get stuffed. Ultimately, I've got a little bit more respect for Arsenal and Tottenham, because I know that what these games are like. And they're tough games, whatever way you look at it. Would I take a draw? Yes, because we're away. I would do that. But I think the draw's not good enough for Spurs, as you like. So I think within 10 minutes to go, I think Spurs might have to go gun-ho, and that could leave it open. I think Spurs have got to score first. If they don't, I think then.
I actually think whoever scores first win this game. Yeah.
Yeah, so it could be saying on that, you know what I mean.
Next goal wins already.
Yeah, it could come down to that, yeah.
And Babs.
I said draw because I'm not sure what Arteta is going to do. If he's arrogant and he plays his style of football, which is attacking, pressing, it's going into Spurs' hands. And you've played against better teams than Arsenal and Liverpool and Man City, and you've beat them. So if we do that, we'll lose the game, in my opinion. But if we adapt for this one game and go to the 5 at the back and give you the ball and say, what can you do with the ball? Like Wolves did, like Brighton did to an extent, Brentford as well with a back 5. You've struggled against back 5 teams. Even Chelsea, for example, you struggled against those guys. If we adapt for this one game and give you the ball and limit the space behind and hit you on the counter attack with the pace of a Saka or Martinelli or Smith Rowe and Nketiah as well now, I think we could win this game. But I'm not quite sure if Arteta will adapt that much. If he's willing to put his ego to one side, his style of play for one game to get the result. Because if he adapts and plays that, Stamford Bridge, for example, he adapted for that game. We won that game because of the adaptation. If Arteta does the same thing again for this game, I think we can win this game.
Okay. So that's it for our questions. Before we go, we will ask our guests to talk about their channels. We'll start with you, Bavs.
Or if you want to see Arsenal news, I'm not quite sure if it's first time.
If we win on Thursday, basically, here's where to find Babs if we win on Thursday.
There's always a possibility that someone out there is a bit masochistic or, just wants to sort of punish themselves. But no, go ahead, Babs. Talk about your channel.
Arsenal analysis, Arsenal transfer news, Arsenal news, everything Arsenal. So if you want to come over to the better side of North London, then feel free. More than welcome.
i.e. South London. Go on.
But yeah, so Babs14 on YouTube, Twitter and Instagram and TikTok.
Lee?
Lee Judges
I got yours
TV.
wrong.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. I do AFTV as well, but Lee Judges TV. Listen, I try everything to upset Spurs fans, but unfortunately they quite like me
He's
for
been
some
kicking
unknown
me under
reason,
the table,
yeah.
Must be the memes.
I don't know what it is, you know what I mean. So. I'll get from where I am.
He's done it again, that Harry Kane.
I lot of Spurs fans come and they go, I love you, Lee, and I go, you're an Arsenal fan, and they go, no, Tottenham. I go, why? You know what I mean? I do everything to piss you off, you know what I mean? But so if you want to come on there, have a laugh and all that, listen, it's all banter, and that is one thing I've got a lot of, I've got Spurs family, friends and everything like that. I don't like the hatred between Arsenal and Spurs. I do like the banter side of it and all, and it, so it's always banter and a bit of fun, and nothing hatred towards to them. But that's where it is, So as long as it's a good game and Arsenal win, I don't care.
3-1 Spurs.
Absolutely. Let's do a score prediction very quickly.
3-1 Spurs.
3-1. 3-1.
3-1.
2-1 to the Arsenal.
2-1 to the Arsenal.
1-1.
1-1. Okay. So a very big We Are Tottenham TV thank you to our guests today. Please do like, subscribe and comment on this video. And if you want to follow me at any point, you can find me at Shelfside Spurs Show. But other than that, a big thank you to Lee, a big thank you to Babs and to Ben and Sim. And from me, it's a goodbye. And as always, come on, you Spurs.